Oh, hi. So today we're going to be continuing our exploration of that mental breakdown that led to our transition. We've already been through many of the causes that led up to it, and I think it's a really important period of my recent life, which is why we are spending so much time discussing and going through it. So what happened, really, once we'd gotten into that state? Life at home wasn't fun, work wasn't fun, the situation meant I could barely see friends. And I think it's safe to say that my mental health started to regress into a poorer state than it had been for many, many years. Not since I was an adolescent had my anxiety been so severe that it started to cause muscle tension to the point where I was experiencing physical pain quite regularly. I felt like I was wound tighter and tighter, always expecting someone to bring some new drama or old drama or a problem that would be brand new that has nothing to do with me, but I had to fix. That's what I'd started to get used to and had started to expect from almost every aspect of my life, unfortunately. I started to grow very disdainful is the correct word, I think, of people, and I wanted to isolate myself, which I think when you're experiencing mental health issues is clearly not a good thing to do. It's not good for you, because we are social creatures as human beings. But I think when we have issues that are caused by the people we interact with, it's a natural defense mechanism, possibly, to kind of want to retreat into isolation where you can be alone, because you typically start to associate people with stress and anxiety and depression, which was what I was going through at the time. I started to feel increasingly angry all the time and snapped at everyone that irked me in some way. My flatmate probably bore the brunt of it. While she wasn't pleasant to live with, I feel like I wasn't really myself in how I treated her towards the end. I very much resented her at the time for how she appeared to laze around without contributing to anything happening, living off of funds that she hadn't earned and always asking for more. Every time she said anything that was provocative, it would be met with an immediate retort. I told her that if she didn't like things, she could leave and go back home. And while you're dealing with an adult, I think it's a fair thing to suggest if they are living with you off of your generosity. But I kind of hate myself in hindsight for saying that to her, because I was told the same thing as a child. That if I didn't like the way things were at home, that I could leave, and it made me feel worthless, like I could be discarded at any moment, like I didn't feel safe, and I felt like I had to comply completely with what was happening in the house. Otherwise I was afraid I'd be thrown out or no longer allowed to live here. And I probably made her feel the same way, which is what I really regret about that. I also started to grow increasingly impatient with my colleagues, snapping at them when things weren't done correctly or things weren't done in a way that I expected them to be done, or if people couldn't understand what I was trying to get them to do. I found it impossible to just take a breath and slow down, because there was always pressure from everywhere, or at least that's what it felt like. My hobbies, I had so much constantly going on in the back of my mind that I couldn't focus. My ability to play music or role-playing games suffered greatly. I lost my feel for a lot of the things I was doing before. And I started to wear noise-cancelling headphones at work. Sometimes the music would help me focus, but sometimes I just wouldn't have anything playing. I would just have them on to isolate myself from everything that was going around. And I suppose part of me wanted to discourage people from approaching me. I guess I wanted to be unapproachable so that I could just focus on what I needed to do and to block out all potential distractions and kind of deter people from giving me more things to do when I was barely handling what I had on my plate. I felt like I'd very much reverted to a state of mental health and behavior that I was in before my teenage years, before I really started to kind of grow up and develop as a human being. My experiences as a child made me very fearful and anxious around people, and I dreaded human interaction. And I felt like that was a state I knew previously, and it was a state I felt like I had entered, and I didn't understand how I got there again, because I'd worked through, or at least I felt like I worked through these issues previously. And a few occasions I could go off and see my friends, the ones that were important to me. I found that was where I could unwind, and I was desperate for escape. I would never consider myself an alcoholic, but when I was free of everyone, I would binge. Every chance I get. And, I only had one person to take care of. That was me, and I didn't really care. And I didn't really take care of me at the time. I didn't really recognize how unhealthy I was, because I think really when you're in that kind of situation, it kind of blinds you from getting real perspective on things. I had grown incredibly apathetic and dismissive of everything. Friends, family, work colleagues. I just wanted room to breathe and to be alone. And it didn't help that I kind of was delving deeper into a lie about who I was. Well, especially when it came to my profession and professional success. Well, I think I genuinely did believe, and I genuinely felt like I had become a professional success, at least at first, in that company. The more time went on in my new position, the more I felt like I was just being used. And one of the other things that really I didn't realize it at the time, not initially. I was encouraged to dress smarter because I was starting to move up in the corporate world, and we didn't have a dress code. No one else really wore a suit, but I was told, it was expected that I would dress and present in a more professional manner. So I was like, okay, I guess I should wear a suit now? Which, I mean, I'm not someone who does things by half measures. So when I was thinking I'd get a suit, I'd just get a three-piece, it seemed simple, everything all matched, easy to just throw on in the morning. And I thought it looked nice. But really, it felt like a cage. Forced me into being... It was like the final stage of a transformation into being someone who I just wasn't. And I would be admonished for making people look bad, since I was the only one that would actually wear a full suit. I guess everywhere I felt like everything was going wrong, and that I no longer had a sense of control over my own destiny, over my own life. And I felt like life was just a game. I wasn't a player in it, I was just a piece on the board, and I was losing. And I just stopped caring about so many things. Everything just became something I could turn into a joke. Anything and everyone was fair game. Whether it was appropriate, whether it was insensitive, or whether it was self-destructive. It just didn't really matter. And it affected some friendships, it affected my working relationships. It affected my hobbies, like my role-playing, and I didn't realize it, but it had just as I felt stress everywhere, the result of that stress, my anxieties, the way I was feeling was seeping into everything that was not a source of it. And I was suffering. I didn't see it at the time, but I was really suffering. Things went on like that. And probably would have continued for a much longer period of time if I wasn't able to get some perspective on things. But I felt like I didn't have time for therapy, so I didn't take that course of action. I didn't expect to find my source of reflection and source of personal development where it was that I found it. But I was really glad that I did. I felt like it opened up a lot of doors for me. We've had so many videos of negative stuff. I think next time it's just going to be about how we recover. And I'm looking forward to it. Anyway, I've been Mara Alexandra, unapologetically me. Thank you very much for watching. Do the social media things, and I will see you next time. Bye!